smooth vertical transition. And then I go through and file that web down in there, just like we did on the other piece of track. Again, this is so when you go from one piece of track to another, if there's a slight misalignment there, instead of the wheels hitting it, they sort of end up moving. It's like a transition from one track to the other, and that flange helps it flow. So we will just do that for all of these. Turn out. Alright, my friends, there you go. We've got these prepped and ready to go together. What we'll do now is we'll do the old rail joiner attachment and solder scenario. Now, on this side over here, this is where it connects to the Hillbilly Bridge. The Hillbilly Bridge already has rail joiners, so we don't need to do anything here with that. And actually, we probably want to solder to the so that maybe imperfection or expansion or contraction of the rails can be absorbed there and not misalign everything downstream of that. So solder here, and I'll go ahead and just stick rail joiners on here. We won't solder them down yet. What will happen is once I set this track down, if I've already got rail joiners in place, then sliding another piece of track on is way easier, in my opinion, than having rail joiners on the new piece of track and trying to get underneath here when this is already sort of glued down. So we'll get the rail joiners going, and that's basically, you've seen us do this before on where the sawmill was. So we'll just try to do this real quick, not take a bunch of your time on it. Take our rail nippers and you just cut off the excess. Just slide these suckers on there. I knew I needed it. I don't know anything specific about it other than this is what it's used for. I have found that if I don't put this flux down on my solder joints, two things happen. One, for some reason it takes forever for the solder to melt. Now that may be an old wives' tale, I don't know, but it seems to be affecting me. The second thing is some of the connections, even though they look nice and shiny and pretty, sometimes I can just pull them apart. That doesn't work, and that's because of the impurities and stuff, the junk that's on the material that we're soldering. it'll start traveling like that. It travels through the joint in the rail joiner. The solder has traveled all the way back through there, I think. As a matter of fact, we just test that to make sure I did that right here on camera. See that? Soldered. Boom. I actually got one right on camera. That makes it fun for me. Let's get this one done here. Same thing. We heat it up until it gets nice and hot. And we move it around a lot, apparently. And then get that solder in there. And this one's not cooperating as well. And we missed a little spot here. Hold on a second. Keep that tip up off that tie right there, because I'm getting ready to melt me a railroad tie right here on live YouTube TV. And well, let's see if that got it. It kind of looks like it did, but my eyesight's kind of bad. No, it didn't get it. And it's really hot, by the way. Alright, so that one didn't quite take it. That one kept giving me trouble, so I just went ahead and fixed it without boring you guys with it. I think it's because I'm doing it backwards, trying to get over there. I actually melted my railroad tie a little bit. I'm telling you people, this is my least favorite part of what I do. Luckily, at the beginning of this series, I reminded you all that I am not an expert at this. I am a regular guy, and this is just what happens. And it doesn't always go right. I wish it did. Matter of fact, I'm a contractor, and I wish that the construction stuff that I did went right all the time, and it doesn't. So, just keep working on this. Okay, so we've soldered the rail joiners on. Like I said, it took me some doing because I suck at it. It's nice and flat, which is what we want, and I'm not going to go through and gently run my file over the top of these connections, because sometimes the solder will get up there and make a little bump. I'm not trying to sort of score the rails at all. It's more like polishing it with my little file. And yeah, over here we got a little carried away with solder. So, boy, I tell you, it was kind of a pain in the backside, but that seems to have come out okay. There's no solder on the inside that'll hit the flanges of the cars, so at this point I think we're pretty good. And we're back in the studio. Hey, there you go. We finally got a piece of track soldered together into one piece of track. In the coming weeks, what we're end up doing is painting it and putting the wood on it, stabbing it onto the hillbilly bridge, and moving forward. Oh, and by the way, don't be fooled by what you saw there. That guy sucks at soldering, so much so that when we get down to some intensive soldering a little bit later in the series, we'll go ahead and give you some videos to some really accomplished people that we can sort of brush up on our soldering skills with. So, by the way, just a little bit of trivia. We're about halfway through season 1. Isn't that amazing? Which means the end is in sight. We're over the hill, and coming up here soon, we're going to see some trains running up in that logging camp. So, I hope y'all stay tuned, and I hope y'all come back and watch us finish this sucker. You know, let me ask you this question. If you haven't started building your model railroad yet, what are you waiting for? The return of Baywatch? Who isn't? Alright, thanks again for watching. My name is Steve Brown, and I will see you next time. So I don't even really know where I was going with that. I kind of got lost. I went off the rails. Ooh, like a crazy train. If you're thinking about getting into model railroading, or you're already an addict, boy, do we have a project for you. In this episode, we actually finish something starting right now. Yay! Welcome to It's My Railroad, the how-to show for regular people. Hey, if you haven't already done it, how about pushing that subscribe button? We have new episodes coming out every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. California time. Don't want you to miss a single thing. We are really having fun about 3 minutes and 16 seconds. I think it's a big mistake. You need to stick around till towards the end because we have a major announcement that we're really excited about. And if you leave now, you're gonna miss it. So let's talk about what we're gonna do in this week's episode. If you watched last week's episode in its entirety, you'll see that at the end we kind of cut it off abruptly. That's because your buddy Steve over here gets so long-winded sometimes. I made so much content that it was actually too long for one episode. So I just cut it in half. Boom, part one, boom. Part two is today. In this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to paint the track, weather the track, and come up with this really cool look I think you're going to like. And then we're going to glue all the logs to the bottom of it in anticipation of stabbing that sucker onto the Hillbilly Bridge. Now, next week, we will actually stab that sucker onto the Hillbilly Bridge, I promise. But for now, let's just go see what's happening in the hobby room and get on it. So now what we want to do is go through and paint this. And here's some thoughts on that. Normally, if we're going to paint our rails, paint the track we're putting down, we'll put down the road bed, and then we'll lay down the rails, and then we come through and either airbrush on paint. Railroad type brown is pretty common. We're going to use something a little different this time. Or if you don't have an airbrush and you don't have a ventilated environment, just come through with a brush and just paint it, and that's all fine and good. And I've kind of done both of those things on my layout on the BSR. The problem here is, if you recall, we are going to end up with something that looks like this, right? And these logs right here are sitting right under the rails. So if I airbrush this, what'll happen? I'll get paint on these logs. Kind of kills this whole million hours I spent on getting my logs to look pretty. If I go to brush it on, I'm concerned that my brushing skills aren't that great, and I'll end up dripping paint down on the log. So unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, just the way it works is we need to go through and paint this in advance. So like I said, I'm going to do it just a little differently than normal because the whole rest of the layout's got railroad type brown paint on it. Those rails in the timeline of the world are probably newer anyway, so that's fine and dandy, kind of well maintained. But up here in the log, you can't kind of crap rails, frankly. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to do that. I have some paint that I bought at Hobby Lobby, actually. And the color of it is called Licorice. It's called Licorice Reglisi Negro. I don't know what all that means, but this is the paint we're using. The wife and I already crafty stuff. We're into different things, and so I just bought this because I thought it was kind of a cool color. And I'm going to start painting these railroad ties with this, a little blacker. But what we may do is get some of that gray we had and just dry brush a smidge of gray on there, kind of make a different effect. Come the end of the day, it may look like crap, and we're going to start over. But for right now, we're going to give this a try. Look how that comes out, that paint. I almost feel like I should be Rembrandt or something right now, because it's like the kind of paint you paint on a canvas or something. But luckily, we have a water-based paint, and I have a water brush, and we just start painting on there. And the paint's pretty thick. I don't need to paint so much on the bottoms, because you're not really going to see that in my opinion. And I don't really care that I'm getting paint on the top of the rails, because what we're going to do, just like we would normally, is we're going to come back to, we're going to buff that paint off of there. So that, we actually have some electrical current flowing into our locomotive. So I just give it some paint. I'm wetting it down. I'm experimenting here again, forgive me, but I've never used this paint for this before. And, if I was an expert, I'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you do it, and blah, blah, blah. But, I'm not. Other than the stupid voice, I have nothing in common with those people. I make this up as I go along. So we're painting. Okay. Now, when we get up here to the turnout, switch rail. Not the end of the world necessarily, because these back here, which are called the heels, transfer electricity from this rail onto the switch point. That's good times. But if for some reason that current doesn't make it this way, I need it on that way. Now, when we wire this up, I'm going to show you a way I do it where it kind of makes sure that I don't end up with problems with all of that. But for right now, let's not, contribute to potential problems by painting these heels or painting into those switch points, right? We'll just sort of steer clear of that for now, and maybe get a smaller brush once all this is installed and come back and touch that up. In some cases, to be honest with you, I haven't even touched it up. I've just left it there. And to the naked eye, depending where the turnout is, sometimes you can't even tell that it didn't get painted. Now, if you get paint in there, the heels have always been a problem for me if I got paint in them. But the switch point's not so bad. It just means you got to go through with an X-Acto knife or something and scrape that down so it makes contact again. And frankly, for me, the only way I know that it doesn't work is, when it doesn't work, when I run a locomotive over there and he just stops at the turnout. Like, what the heck? And then I asked the conductor and he goes, hey, dude, you screwed up your turnout. And that's always embarrassing when your conductors are talking to you like you're an idiot. Okay, something I just thought of that I need to keep in mind is the fact that we're pretty much getting the top of these ties. I'm not certain we're getting the sides of the ties in here, so I think maybe take a little paint and come back in like this. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I know it's kind of hard to see. It's kind of like, hey, dude, you just painted black paint on black railroad ties. Well, yeah, but we're not quite done yet. We're getting there. Let's do the same thing on the bottom of the turnout. Being careful not to get this throw rod right here. I don't know if hold on a second. There you go. Not to get this throw rod painted and stuck in there. Man, I've done that. I've glued that sucker down, and I've broken it free every time. But at what cost, brothers and sisters? What cost? So the points are sitting right up in here. So we'll come back further so we don't get the points painted. And careful around the heels. Okay, that is a blackly acrylic-y track. Looks kind of oily. It looks kind of, yeah, this looks kind of yucky, which is what we want, frankly. I'm going for yucky. That's the effect. Hey, Steve, what look are you going for? And then I just say yucky, and then people go, oh, okay, I missed a spot here. we're gonna let this dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna come back and give it another treatment with maybe another color. Okay, I'm gonna try something new, something I've never done before. This whole logging camp, I guess, consists of stuff I've never done before. But I saw Cody Grivno on from Model Railroader on Model Railroader Video Plus. He had just painted the rails for their Canadian national layout they're working on. And then he went back through and he sort of randomly painted ties a different color. Now, this is a super detailed level. If you got like 1,000,000 ties on your layout, it would take you forever. But I want to just experiment with that a little bit. I'm going to take some gray and dry brush. Dry brushing, basically, if you guys don't know, it's you get paint on your brush and you brush it till it's almost gone. And it leaves just enough where you can go in and just sort of lightly hit something with it, and it doesn't leave much paint behind. So I'm going to just go every few here. And as my paint peters out, I'll just keep moving around, because I don't want it to all look the same, is what I'm trying to get away from here. But by putting this gray in there, here's what I'm hoping to achieve. I am hoping that it will start making it look like the railroad ties are sort of, some are newer, some are older. They've had to replace some because they're icky, or this gray is gray, and ultimately though we kind of need a little brown in here, but that brown is going to come from the dirt we're going to put on here later. This is in the mountains, and there's going to be dirt all over the place, and so some of that dirt is going to end up falling on these railroad ties, and when they do, what that's going to end up doing is adding that final layer. So there's going to be subtle changes, I'm hoping, in the railroad tie structure that really make it look like some of these get replaced at some point, or at least they're not all, you know, all brand new, all kind of hooked in right now, kind of thing. I keep wiping that off the top of the rail there. I just don't know that I want the gray paint on there right now for whatever reason. We can always wipe it off later too. So as this is going, I'm already starting to see something I like here. It's turning kind of weathered-y. And if weathered-y's a word, I will use it. If it's not a word, then make up your own. There, maybe a little bit more back in this one. But I have to paint the whole tie, I figure, at one time, because they didn't replace, like, from here to the rail, you know, they replaced the whole tie, if they replaced it at all. So if we're looking close, and it's, again, in scale hard to see, but maybe you can see kind of how those ties are looking a little different as we move forward. It's pretty neat, if you ask me. Even if you didn't, I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to go through right now and just finish doing this, and then we're going to see how that, what it looks like when we're done, all right? Something else I'm trying here, and I kind of like where it's going, is I got a bunch of water on the brush, a bunch of this water, and just touch the gray, nice and wet, and then just touch the railroad tie, and sort of watch the gray travel through the railroad tie. It's weird. It's kind of getting down in there and actually making it look less like it was painted, in my opinion, and more like it's just weathered. That's pretty cool. See if I can get that effect to happen back here on all of this. So this is too dry. Yeah, it looks better. When we get to the big part of the layout, when we put all the rest of the track in, we're going to do this water method. I think this is looking pretty good right now. And the thing is, because the paint sort of runs out and the water does, it kind of has this varying effect of some of it is thicker, some of it's thinner, it's more gray, it's less gray. It's almost random the way it's traveling through there right now. All right, just a couple more to do. Well, come the end of the day, that's what we ended up with right there. Sort of weathered-ish looking railroad ties. Now, those ties that you see missing right there, that's all fine and dandy. Once this is all set in place, just like we would normally do, we'll paint some ties in advance and just slide them in there. But for right now, I don't think we necessarily need them. And so you've got some ties that are looking like they're relatively new, some that look like they're relatively old. And I'm just like, I'm getting carried away here. I'm almost thinking, as this dries, I may want to go ahead and put a little bit of brown on it. I don't know. Let me think about it for a second. All right, I thought about it. I think I'm going to just put a smidge of brown. So we tried using the same technique to put brown on there, and it clearly didn't work out so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of brush, or a little bit of paint on my brush, and see what we do is we take it and you wipe it down until you almost don't see any coming off the brush anymore. That, my friends, is dry brushing. And then we're just going to go through here and just hit this lightly like this, all the way down. What we start seeing is it just starts looking sort of old and haggardy, because haggardy, I invent words, and that's one of them. I didn't put too much on there, but it just, the effect of adding the brown, I really think is kind of neat. Just sort of dry brushing it on there. Again, watching out for the heels, watching out for the points, so we don't take our beautifully detailed turnout and make it inoperable because we covered over the electrical parts of it. So that looks kind of old, and I just got my heels, look at that. That looks kind of old, that looks kind of weathered, Now that may be more work than you want to do. Maybe it's more work than's even necessary, but you know, that's how I did it. So for now, I'm going to call that a wrap. We're going to see how this looks when we get it all into the layout. So what happens next? Well, what happens next is I'm gonna get my cutter over here. We're gonna cut out some of these logs and then and glue them to this sucker and see if we can put it on the layout. Won't that be fun? I think it will be. Let's get our chopper back out and start laying some logs on this thing. Now, we figure out the length we want. Let's say for this first one, I'm saying something like that, from rail joiner center to rail joiner center, and then we'll cut it. Now, in my opinion, because of these radiuses, logs, obviously, they didn't bend them, so we're not gonna bend them. We're gonna put these straight pieces in, kind of where we think they'd go. And ultimately, as long as in the real world, these tracks don't start wobbling around and stuff, it doesn't matter. It's gonna look pretty good, I think. So, grab another little piece of log here, quote unquote, and go ahead and figure this one out. About that long. Again, watch your thumb when you get in here on the chomper, because you're just gonna chomp your thumb. So this is the inside one, this is the outside. So I use super glue for everything, like I said. And so we're gonna use some super glue to put this on. And that one we're gonna put right about there. So if I go ahead and drop maybe 2 or 3 drops on here, it should ultimately